Welcome back to Figuring It Out. I'm Rachel Lee, and today we're going to talk about self-care. But not the version you see on social media, not the bubble baths, not the facials, or the all-day spa days. Because let's be honest, when you're a single mom struggling, that's not reality. The truth is, self-care is going to look different for each of us because each of our stories is different. What works for me might not work for you, and that's okay. What matters is that we give ourselves permission to experience self-care in the way that we need it and when we need it. So today, we're going to peel back the layers of what self-care really looks like, the messy, honest version, and talk about how it shows up when life feels heavy. For the longest time, I didn't even know what self-care was supposed to mean. Nobody had ever told me that as a single mom, I was allowed to have something just for me. My version of self-care? It wasn't spa days or girls' weekend. It was sitting on my back patio, smoking a cigarette with a cup of coffee. Or if it was summer, iced tea. That was my moment, my 5 minutes to breathe. I don't smoke anymore, but for a long time, that was my reset button. The other version of self-care was locking myself in the bathroom, hoping for 5 minutes of silence. But if you're a mom, or even a parent, you know the truth. They always find you. That's what I thought self-care was. Stolen moments, snatched scraps of time where I could breathe. I didn't know there could be more. Over time, I've learned that self-care isn't just about stolen moments. It's survival. It's a necessity. It's what keeps you steady when life pulls you in 100 different directions. Here are the top 4 lessons that I've learned over the past couple of years. Well, maybe 5. Still learning, but here we go. Lesson 1, self-care isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. Back then, I thought 5 minutes with a cigarette and coffee or an iced tea was enough. Maybe it was all I could do then, but self-care is about the basics. Eating real meals, sleeping, moving your body, drinking water. Taking care of yourself isn't extra, it's what keeps you alive. Lesson 2, boundaries are self-care. For me, that meant not letting the wrong people into my boys' lives, learning how to say no, protecting my energy, and realizing not everyone deserves access to me. Lesson 3, self-care evolves. When my boys were little, self-care looked like stolen minutes. As they've gotten older, it has shifted. Walking has become part of my reset. Though let me be clear, these aren't nature walks that you would see someone having in a Hallmark movie or some AI-generated thing on social media. Most mornings, I'm at the gym. That's my time, my therapy. Most of the time, I'm listening to personal development podcasts or audiobooks that feed my mind while I'm moving my body. I don't really listen to music during that time because I need to focus, get my day started, and prepare myself for the awesomeness that I expect to happen every day. Doesn't always work out, but I try. And for me, self-care now isn't just about exercise or rest. It's also creating order in my life. It's finding calm in small things, letting go of what doesn't fit where I'm going anymore, old habits, old expectations, and keeping what gives me peace. We're human. Clutter is always going to exist somewhere in our lives, in our homes, our heads, our hearts. But the goal isn't perfection here. It's being aware. It's being able to look at your life and say, this feels heavy and I don't need to carry it anymore. Because when we get honest with ourselves, when we stop pretending, that's when real self-care begins. Lesson 4, self-care is about healing. It's finding things that help you feel whole again. Therapy, movement, quiet reflection, even saying out loud, I need a break. One thing that I'm still trying to figure out is how to take care of myself without guilt. For so long, every ounce of energy I have had has gone into my boys. And when I did take a moment for myself, it felt selfish. Like I'm stealing time from them. And that guilt doesn't just vanish. I'm still working on it, by the way. I'm also trying to figure out what self-care really looks like for me now. Because it's not always a walk or a journal or a face mask. Sometimes it's giving myself permission to rest without apologizing for it. Sometimes it's saying no. Sometimes it's just reminding myself that I matter too. Sometimes it's taking the long way home. Just to give myself extra time to be with my thoughts and myself. Another thing I'm figuring out is how to find self-care practices that actually fill up my cup, not just distract me. Scrolling on my phone, that's not care. That's numbing out, and I now know the difference. Real self-care makes me feel more like myself again. And actually, real self-care helps me discover pieces of myself that I never even knew existed. And finally, I'm still figuring out how to balance my solo strength with letting myself be cared for when someone does come into my life. Because after years of being the everything, it's hard to imagine letting someone else share that load. But that's part of self-care too. Before we wrap up, I want you to take a second and really think about this. What does self-care look like for you today? Not what Instagram says it should be, not what anyone else does. What you need right now. Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's saying no. Maybe it's finally forgiving yourself for not knowing better before you did. If you take nothing else from today, I want you to hear this. Self-care isn't selfish, and it isn't shallow. It's not always pretty, but it is necessary. Sometimes self-care is 5 stolen moments on the back patio, and sometimes it's finally going to therapy. Sometimes it's walking 2 miles. Sometimes it's sitting in silence. And sometimes it's simply resting without apologizing for it. The truth is, self-care is going to look different for each one of us because each of our stories is different. Your self-care doesn't have to look like mine, and mine doesn't have to look like yours. What matters is that you give yourself permission to figure out what you need and then honor it. So take care of yourself in the way that you need to, when you need to, because you matter too. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their version of self-care is enough. And I'd love to know, what are you figuring out when it comes to self-care? Follow, like, or subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. Before I go, next week we're diving into something powerful. The words we speak and the ones we don't. Because the truth is, what we say and how we say it has the power to heal or to wound, to build bridges or burn them down. We'll talk about what it means to pause before reacting, to understand your role in what's happening, and to recognize that words can cut deeper than anyone realizes. So make sure you're following Figuring It Out with Rachel Lee so you don't miss it. And until then, take care of yourself in the way you need to, when you need to.